Good evening. It's great to be here. Great honor to be a part of an event named after one of the greatest works of 20th century literature, Babette's Feast. I'm, like I think all of us here, a great admirer of Isak Dinesen, Karen Blixen, and her world. And I think it is quite fitting that an event at a festival that is organized by PEN is named after Babette's Feast, because Babette is, of course, on the flight from circumstances. She has come to the edge of the world. It's not like she has chosen that place of her free will, not any more than, for example, people who are running away from tragedy and misery in faraway places and end up in completely different cultures, even on a small island like Iceland, where we had exiles in the Second World War from Nazi Europe. It's not that they came to Iceland to enjoy the air and the fresh water. They had no choice but to live there with a mainly, saga, knowledgeable, but quite ignorant in other fields of high culture. I will read a short part from my novel From the Mouth of the Whale, which was published here in the States by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. It's the story of an Icelandic scholar, poet, artist, philosopher, exorcist, who falls out of favor with the authorities in Iceland when he reports on the massacre of Basque whalers in the Western Fjords in 1615. So he becomes a fugitive and is a man on the run with his family. We visit him here at a very dark hour in his life. He has just returned from Copenhagen, where he tried to get his case taken up by the Danish University, by the great Danish scholar Ole Worm. And the thing is that he has been accused of wizardry or sorcery, which in those days, of course, meant that you would be put on the fire. But the great Renaissance man Ole Worm, he discovered that the Icelandic scholar was a poet with Catholic tendencies. Mm-hmm. That was his crime, basically, apart from going up against authority. So he's been sent into exile on a tiny island off the east coast of Iceland. But he returns from Copenhagen, quite hopeful actually in the beginning that his case will be taken up and he will be acquitted of the crime of sorcery. But here he comes, back to the island. And there she lay, in the patch of heather beside the path leading to our hut, a plaything of the wind and weather, my wife, Sigríður Þórólfsdóttir, now nothing but a heap of black rags. Throwing down my belongings, I ran to her, fell on my knees, and flung my arms around her, crying, Sigga, Sigga, only to recoil at once, for a chill emanated from her body like the draught from a passageway. Her shawl was pulled down over her nose, and nothing could be seen of her face but the pursed lips and stubborn chin. I drew the cloth gently back over her brow. The bluish yellow flesh was icy cold, yet seemed unblemished, apart from a sprig of flowering thyme that sat fast in her right cheek. But where were her eyes? Had the ravens been at her? I fumbled at her eyelids. Thank God there was substance under them. I had been misled by their black appearance. I wept. It began to rain, then stopped. I wept on, for now I had killed my Sigga too. Evening fell, and the rain started again. I carried her into the hut, laid her body on the bed in the living room, knelt down beside her, and begged her to forgive me for all the wrongs I had done her, both great and small. For the trials she had been forced to endure on account of my obsessive curiosity and delving, the collecting mania that had filled all our chests with unidentifiable berries, fool's gold, and deadly poisonous plants, and books in languages that neither of us could read, while a cold wind blew among the empty cooking pots, the endless gabbling of elves and trolls, the evening I spoke harshly to her in front of the children, the harebrained schemes and worthless conceits my mind constantly spewed forth that were to cost us so dear. The silence that followed was overwhelming, unbroken this time by the quick retort with which Sigríður had in recent years responded to any discourse of mine, regardless of topic. That's the sort of nonsense that got us here in the first place. Whenever I heard those words, all the wind would leave my sails. They seemed to strike at the very root of my impotence. It was only too true that my nonsense had driven us here and there, hither and thither, back and forth. We had been forced to dwell in so many years against our will, on our constant flight from my enemies, from the predatory silver-plated claws that clutched after me and my loved ones, me and all I held dear. I ran my fingers gently over Sigga's brow, down her nose and cheek, avoiding the sprig of thyme. The last time I heard her refer to us, she meant only herself and her old man, me, the two sad wretches on Gullbjörn's island. But once it meant the two of us and our 4 children, then us 2 and our 3 children, and later us 2 and our 2 children. Until finally it was only us 2 and little Guðmundur. For only the eldest, Pálmi Guðmundur, survived into adulthood, benefiting no doubt from being named after the good Bishop Guðmundur Arason. His brothers and sisters all fell to the scythe, slender shoots withered before their time. One never becomes used to it. The ewe runs faster than the lamb, the swan takes to the air sooner than the cygnet, the char darts through the water quicker than the minnow, and the little children tire before their parents. Father and mother look on helplessly as their babies die. That's the sort of nonsense that got us here. The speaker of that bitter truth had departed this life. The word us now referred to me alone. And in that dark hour, I would gladly have given my own life to have heard it once more from her living lips.
Thank you, Sjón. Actually, I think that this excerpt is extremely modern, even if it takes place in the 17th century. I mean, all the difficulties of maintaining a family and marriage, and at the same time, all the claims on the individual to evolve and pursue individual careers and individual ambitions. And of course, this becomes particularly clear in the case of a poet and a scientist. Well, I think it's a beautiful text.
Yes. And I also think it speaks to the unknown victims of persecuted people. Whenever a writer or an intellectual in a country that is under the hardship of totalitarianism decides to speak up, that person, of course, does not only put him or herself in danger, but it's the whole family that suffers.
Yes, that's true.
So here you have a case of a man who is on the run. He's in an exile. He's on the run, and he loses his family. His family suffers, and these are, like, I would say, the unsung, unspoken of heroes of the struggle for freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that we never hear about.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a very beautiful way of, yeah. I think we have to end our dinner on a very constructive note, coming from the Baroness herself. Because in the story of Babette's feast, all the destinies come together. All the two aborted love stories are transformed into fulfillment, and Blixen shows us that we have to make difficult choices in life, but even that which we did not choose, we will get in abundance. And she puts the words in the mouth of a general who is really not used to speaking in a religious congregation in northern Norway. He's more used to the battlefield and the royal balls, but he becomes very moved himself when he stands up and says the following: "Righteousness and bliss shall kiss one another." "Man, my friends," said General Löwenhielm, "is frail and foolish. We have all of us been told that grace is to be found in the universe. But in our human foolishness and short-sightedness, we imagine divine grace to be finite. But for this reason we tremble." Never till now had the general stated that he trembled. He was genuinely surprised and even shocked at hearing his own voice proclaim the fact. We tremble before making our choice in life. And after having made it, again we tremble in fear of having chosen wrong. But the moment comes when our eyes are opened and we see and realize that grace is infinite. Grace, my friends, demands nothing from us but that we shall await it with confidence and acknowledge it in gratitude. Grace, brothers, makes no conditions and singles out none of us in particular. Grace takes us all to its bosom and proclaims general amnesty. See, that which we have chosen is given us, and that which we have refused is also and at the same time granted us. That which we have rejected is poured upon us abundantly. For mercy and truth have met together, and righteousness and bliss have kissed one another. Thank you for this evening, my friends.